All right, this is part 2 of Renounce oh Lord, Renounce Kappa Alpha Psi. And then, all right, so the last one. After all members volunteered to be sent as a replacement, the lieutenant strategist prompts the candidate to say that he will die for this brother. Again, why are we trying to die for people? Don't. I mean, yeah, we're supposed to have sacrificial love in marriages, but like, come on, y'all. It's like that meme where the guy was like, "I'm gonna die for my man," and the guy was like, yeah, let's not do that. Anyway, the Poe marches asks whether the candidate is sure to take his place and warns him that anyone who does so must endure atrocious for tortures and death. That's awful. The candidate, so prompted, repeats his offer and is chosen to replace his brother. He is led outside the chapter room to a secondary room to wait. There's rooms, y'all. Anyway, the chapter room is prepared. This is a lot of effort to do this. I just want to say that. There's a lot of effort. Do you realize how much effort there is to do like witchcraft and these like rituals and stuff? It's a lot. And it's acting required. To be real, there could be like a lot of other things y'all could be doing that serves God and Him in His glory and serves y'all healing. Because this is not gonna heal. It is gonna heal, but I'm saying like this is not helping you heal. The process of getting out of this and then moving to Christ will only heal this and take those demons away and those allowances that happen from doing these things, because my God. Anyway, the chapter room is prepared as an abode for the Darrisons. The entrance of his room should have a number of torture instruments such as clubs, paddles, switches, a burning rod, fire with a padding wrought iron, a branding iron, a rope made into a noose, and other instruments of torture. The members acting as Darrisons should be loud, wrangling, and boisterous. Is contrast to the quiet dignity of the Grecian, which is modern Greek. And then it says assembly. The lieutenant strategist leads the candidate and the guide to the door and raps sharply on the door. It didn't say how many times they rapped. Anyway, the blindfold is removed so that the candidate sees the instruments of torture. I would be terrified. Are you guys okay? The candidate, like after this, I mean, anyway, the candidate is presented to the Darrisons as a replacement for the brother in captivity. But this is refused as the Darrisan leader sees that the candidate is not a Greek, but may be a slave. The candidate is sent off unless he is willing to withstand the soldiers given previously to the Greek. Is this not verbatim what they're doing? Anyway, but oh yeah, you'll see the part where they probably got in trouble from the FBI people in Florida. Promoted by the lieutenant strategist, the candidate insists on taking the place of the Greek brother. This brother is set free, and the candidate blindfolded and taken away to a quiet, unfamiliar room where his shoes and socks are removed and he is being stripped to the waist. In this condition, the pledge is led to the door of the torture chamber where he can hear what is going on within. Tortures. The lash. After a time of silence, a member strikes the table. A table of cushion. A heavy blow with a strap. At the same time, another member cries out as if in pain. The candidate is led in the room and made to bend over. This is where they were talking about. This is where I think they got in trouble. Because they're hitting them and they're hitting them with a strap. And he broke blood vessels. Do you know how hard you have to hit somebody to break blood vessels? Pretty hard. It says, okay, hold on. I'll look it up later. Anyway, after silence, okay, remember, so they're already stripped to the waist and now they're hitting them and they're not wearing shoes or socks. And now they're bending over. Anyway, a member holds a ribbon wet in ice water, but makes certain it doesn't drip over the bowed back of the candidate. Simultaneously with the striking, the ribbon is led to fall on the candidate's back. So they're hitting them and they're rubbing a ribbon on their back that is wet. The candidate is then led to another part of the room to take the second test, the brand. In this test, a member heats a branding rod to glowing over a fire. In the presence of the candidate, this iron is used on a piece of raw meat so that the candidate smells the burning flesh. Another member has a test tube with some hot water on it. As the signal is given, the candidate is grasped and held firmly with his back to the fire, and at the time the iron is placed on the piece of meat in the test tube with hot iron. Water is held a very short time on the candidate's back between the shoulder blades. So they're showing you how to brand somebody, and I do know people that have been branded by fraternities. Do I know which one? I don't, but I was aware that a family member got branded. So they've been doing this for years, and it shows you in the initiation ritual how they do it. First, they wet their back with ice water, and then they put the branding inside the fire, and then they put it on them, and then they cauterize it with hot water. So, anyway, and then they put hot water on it for a short time on the candidate's back between the shoulder blades. And another room members have completed the preparation for the third test, burning sands. It says a small quantity of sand is divided into two parts and placed in a shallow pan or box or spread on a paper. Somebody also got in trouble for doing this recently, but I don't remember if it was Kappa Alpha Psi or if it was somebody else. But somebody did this as well. Hold on. But that one was Phi Kappa Psi. Isn't that the same thing? But it's like a off thing, like a under them. Okay, they're not related. They're just in a divine line, I guess. Or they're just another fraternity that burned another person, okay? I don't know about what they did, but they burned people with sand too, and they got like 3rd-degree burns on their feet. So the point is, people are burning people with sand, all right? It says a small quantity of sand is divided into two parts and placed in a shallow pan or box or square or spread on a paper. Couldn't that start a fire? Anyway, the first portion is moistened slightly and kept at wrong temperature. The probably not, depends on what the floor is. But anyway, the second portion is heated but is insufficiently hot to cause injury to the feet. A pan of ice water, preferably containing cracked ice, is prepared. These three items are placed on the floor astride apart. It's telling you how to do it and how to place them, but they're not doing this apparently. Anyway, the village is instructed to take 3 fatal steps. His first step into sand at room temperature, the second stride is on the hot sand, and the third is on the pan of water. The candidate is redressed and brought back to the temple of the Darien priest. And we know that the Darien priest I don't think I actually told you guys what a Darician priest is. So I'm gonna tell you. It says serves as a secret intermediary in ancient Thracian religion, often functioning as part of a powerful king-priest tradition. These spiritual leaders manage prominent mountain oracles, practiced ecstatic divination, that's witchcraft, and led mystery cults dedicated to deities like oh Lord. Anyway, like the Ratian Dionysus, Sabazos, and the goddess Ventus. And Greek mythology, because it says Hermes, and he is in that as well. Anyway, the candidate is redressed. Alright, only one candle is lit. Again, with the candles. Let's look at what one candle means, because I actually did look this up, but I guess I didn't write it. But that's okay. One candle in Greek mythology. They didn't have candles, they had wax. That's what it's going to say first. It says the tradition of putting glowing lights. Okay, that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked at all. Anyway, I wrote it later, so we'll just go back to what we're reading. It says one candle is lit. The candidate is made to lie down on the floor, head towards the altar. Ritual. The blindfold is removed. Over the candidate stands an executioner with a sword. Also, again, terrifying. Spirit of fear. The priest enters and inquires whether all is readiness for the sacrifice. Why are you sacrificing people? Oh, there's where I read it. Anyway, he lights a small red light. And light symbolizes war, passion. In Greek mythology, it symbolizes war, passion, love, associated with Ares and Aphrodite. And in witchcraft, it symbolizes passion, love, sexual desires, courage, and physical energy and raw power. And it says, and calls upon the god Ares, which again, the candle represents this god, to show his approval by another red light. And then, however, a blue light is switched on. And the blue light is also representing Hades, Aphrodite, and Poseidon. It says water. It also symbolizes water, emotional healing, tranquility, truth. Witchcraft, it represents peace, emotional healing, truth, and clear communication. Again, fitting together. All members react horrified, and the lieutenant strategist cries out that the gods show disapproval with the sacrifice. The candidate is set free and sent home. Blindfolded, he is taken back to the creation assembly where an alarm is sounded at the gate. He is admitted, and after a welcome by the Polarch's edict to determine whether he is fit to share the glory and privileges of a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Do you see all this is showing in like creating an atmosphere where you feel like you have to prove something or you have to meet a standard to be able to be accepted into the fraternity? This deity only wants you guys to feel less than and to prove yourself. And Jesus does not do that. We just say sorry and we repent and we do better, and he helps us to be better. It says, keepers of records retrieves from the archives the sacred scroll wherein the high and holy purpose which find lodgment in the breast of every loyal member. The scroll is handed to the candidate to read and familiarize himself with the creation ideas he is asked to manifest. His frequency interpreting creation scrolls. On blindfolded, he is unable to read the Greek due to the particular arrangement of the text, and prompted by the lieutenant strategist says so to the Pole March. The Pole March sends the candidate to the Herent article of Delphi to obtain the knowledge which he lacks. He is given a copy of the scroll blindfolded and sent on his way. The strategist keeps the pledge walking until the members have arranged the assembly room to represent the temple of Delphi. Again, this is just this deity. This is practicing what they were practicing back then and just practicing it now. The room is arranged with an altar on which are a crucible of fire and a single candle. Oh, see, that's where I wrote the single candle. In witchcraft, it means witchcraft. Oh, in witchcraft, it means unification of all four classical elements: earth, water, air, fire, and spirit. And in Greek, it means moliat, absolute unity and origins of all things and primal force of creation. It means divine. And then one candle also means presence. So one candle means presence and sacred heart of hysteria. Again, deity. It says no one is in sight. The oracle should be concealed in a nearby room or behind a cold curtain. Does this kind of sound like you remember in The Wiz where the guy was behind a curtain and he was like, I'm powerful, and then they met him and he wasn't? This is what that is. That's what that is. The oracle. If you're not an oracle for God, you really don't know anything. Is the truth. And even with that, you still don't know anything. I mean, look at Samuel. I mean, he did know stuff, but like he also messed up. So, I'm saying like wisdom. He had wisdom, but he also was like doing stuff that he should have been doing. Samuel, I'm sorry, not Samuel, because I'm reading Samuel. I'm trying to say Paul. Is it Paul? No, Saul. It's Saul. Yeah. Saul, Paul. Anyway, hold on. Yeah, because Samuel was out here with the witches and talking to witches, and then Daniel killed that lady husband. So I mean, they was doing stuff. Is my point. Like they for Christ, but they still be doing things. Is what I'm saying. Anyway, the strategist removes the blindfold at the door of the room, and they approach the altar as soon as they reach the altar. The oracle asks the candidate what knowledge he is seeking. The strategist explains what is being sought. The oracle rhymes, let him turn to the sacred altar, fire, flame, and barely white cake offered in my name, and then remaining at the altar pray that knowledge and high virtue may have sway over him and all his fellows evermore, till all the wafted to the golden shore. I don't like the cadence. Anyway. I'm sorry. I don't like it though. Anyway, their oracle is rhyming in a very subtle way to tell them to basically accept the deity knowledge that they have, because that's what they did. That's it. It says final resting place also mentioned. Oh yeah, the Golden Shore is also mentioned by Masons as the final resting place. And then strategist asks candidate whether he hears what is being said, and upon a positive cry, he is made to show his obedience. It says, strategist shows the glowing flame to candidate, gives him a dry cracker, and directs him to crush and sprinkle this over the coals. Is this not like communion, but instead of taking a cracker, you just sprinkle it over the coals to give to this deity? The candidate is prompted to say the following: Great oracle, I confer to Hittercom, and this fair fame, the mighty Delphin shrine, white barley cake, not filthy goats akin. Ooh, don't that sound like when Cain and Abel gave the animals to Christ, and God was like, I don't want that, and he killed his brother? At thy great altar on this creation stone, that I may attain the manliness I ought, and merit here the noble laurel wreath. And I was like, what's the laurel wreath? It's those crowns they wear in like all the statues for Greek mythology that's made of sweet bay leaves, apparently. It says, vouchsafe to me the knowledge that is made to fathom mysteries in this present precious skull. These living truths and principles unfold, as though has ever done to valiant Greeks. The candidate is made to slowly move the scroll above the fire. The English version of the motto will appear over the Greek version. Anyway, hold on. So then, yeah, this just them agreeing to know the things that this deity knows in Greek. The candidate, prompted by the strategist, confirms that he applies for fellowship with Kappa Alpha Psi and starts to move away from the strategist. The oracle stops them and warns the candidate for the perils of enemies on his journey towards membership. And then it says the candidate is blindfolded, walking around the room until he is attacked by outlaws. And if you guys are paying attention, they call the other people outlaws that are already in it, so they're just hitting him. The outlaws start harassing the Greeks until the candidate is identified as a stranger. He is promised safe passage if he hounds the creation scroll he is holding. He refuses, stating he will give his life to preserve the secret of the Greeks. Rebuke that. Amen. We don't do that. We're not preserving anything but Jesus Christ. He is taken by some force, and a noose is placed around his neck, and a fight starts. During a fight, a heavyweight strikes the floor. 3 outlaws fall to the ground as if wounded. The other outlaws stop and wonder. Anyway, Chief Outlaw cries out that they are intervened by the god Apollo, which welds and diffuse of those who worship at his shrine, and the outlaws flee. The candidate continued their journey, and when they have walked around the room, they knock on the door. The candidate is admitted, introduced again, strategists, recounts the event, says the candidate has stood all the tests and proven himself worthy to receive as a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Pole March asks the candidate whether he still wishes to enter the fraternity. Upon a positive answer, he is seated his blindfolds room and asks to explain the great school of Kappa Alpha Psi. With the aid of the English translation, the candidate reads aloud the inscription of the great scroll: Phi Nu Phi, achievement through fraternity, knowledge and fidelity. This is the greatest purpose of Kappa Alpha Psi. The vice pole mark moves that the candidate is allowed to take the oath of allegiance and duly received as a member. This motion is unanimously accepted. The candidate is led to the altar, made to kneel. We're going to stop here. See you next one.